The ball hog index. Who's hurting their team with the ball? Net wins introduced a new companion metric, identifying players consuming possessions inefficiently, and the list includes some surprising names. Every NBA offense has players who create more than they distribute and players who distribute more than they create. That's not inherently a problem. The question is whether the creation is efficient, whether the shots being generated are worth the possessions being consumed. Net wins has always captured this implicitly. Missed field goals is subtracted from that total, meaning high volume shooters who don't convert get penalized directly. But the formula doesn't isolate the type of player who's most likely to drag down a team's offensive efficiency. The high usage creator who takes over the ball, generates shot attempts for themselves rather than assisting teammates, and converts those attempts below the league average ratio. This piece introduces a focused metric for identifying exactly that type of player. Thanks for reading NetWins. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and support my work at netwins.substack.com. The ball hog score is equal to field goals attempted plus free throws attempted minus assists. A high score means a player is consuming possessions, drawing fouls, and not compensating for that ball dominance with assists that create for teammates. It's a net possession consumption figure. On its own, a high ball hog score isn't damning. A player like SGA or Wemby scores high in this metric but converts at elite rates. The filter that identifies a true drag on offense by adding the efficiency threshold. So if you have a high ball hog score and using the top 40% of qualified players and an effective field goal percentage below 0.546, which is the league average, the 0.546 threshold is approximately the qualified player median, which means this player's shot creation is costing their team points relative to what a replacement possession would generate if you're below that. The minimum qualification to identify the players was 40 games or 20 minutes per game. Thanks for reading NetWins. This is free, so feel free to share it. So the 25-26 ball hog leaderboard. We have a whole list of players on that leaderboard, and you can check that out at netwins.substack.com. And we also have an efficient side of the same coin, where we have high volume players who don't qualify as ball hogs, who are shooting above the 0.546 effective field goal rate threshold. So on the ball hog leaderboard, the top 10 are Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brunson, Paolo Banchero, Brandon Ingram, Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, Julius Randle, Pascal Siakam, Denji Avdija, Cooper Flagg, DeMar DeRozan, James Harden, Jalen Johnson, and Cade Cunningham. The efficient side, where the players are high volume but don't qualify as ball hogs, are Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, and Wemby. The average net wins for the efficient high volume group is 9.9. The average for the ball hog list is 6.8. That's a 3.1 net wins gap, roughly the difference between a solid starter and a complementary piece attributable to shooting efficiency on a comparable possession consumption. It's a meaningful but not enormous gap, which itself is an interesting finding. High usage players who convert below the median aren't catastrophically hurting their teams, but they're costing them real wins relative to equally ball dominant players who shoot efficiently. This is what the threshold's measuring, the opportunity cost taking the same number of shots and missing more of them. So who are some of the players worth discussing? Jaylen Brown, topping this list, is immediately notable given he was just traded from Boston to Philadelphia. Brown's .522 effective field goal on 1,543 field goal attempts is the largest absolute gap from the efficiency threshold in the group. His ball hog score of 17.15 is by far the highest among inefficient creators. No other player in this group came close. The net wins formula already captures this. His missed field goal penalty is substantial, and it's the primary reason his net win sits where it does despite 2,038 points scored. For Philadelphia, pairing him with Maxey could be problematic, but with Embiid and the defensive attention he attracts, he has a clearer path to improving his shot quality and effective field goal possession. Cooper Flagg at 19 is perhaps the most concerning name on the list from a developmental standpoint. A 19-year-old rookie posting a .498 effective field goal percentage on 1,194 attempts is precisely the pattern teams worry about. Shot selection outpacing efficiency before habits are established. His 4 net wins is not unusual for a first-year player, but the combination of high volume and low conversion suggests Dallas needs to work on his shot diet heading into year 2. Pascal Siakam and DeMar DeRozan are the 2 players with a ball hog classification is most damning in practice. Both post ball hog scores above 1,000, with effective field goal percentages well below the threshold, and neither compensates elsewhere sufficiently to produce meaningful net wins. Siakam, in particular, represents the worst return on possession consumption in this group. Indy's paying for the post Pacers run version of Siakam and getting well below that level of production. Jalen Johnson and Cade Cunningham are 2 cases where the ball hog label's misleading. Both score above the threshold and below the effective field goal percentage, but both produce above average net wins, compensating through rebounding, steals, blocks, and in Cunningham's case, high assist volume that the ball hog formula doesn't fully credit. The metric's weakness is most visible here. It treats all high ball hog, low effective field goal players the same regardless of what they contribute on other dimensions. Johnson and Cunningham are not hurting their teams despite appearing on the list. What the metric is and isn't, the ball hog index is a starting point, not a verdict. Several caveats worth holding. Effective field goal percentage is context dependent. A player who creates his own shots off the dribble will naturally post lower effective field goal percentage than one receiving catch and shoot opportunities. The threshold doesn't distinguish between difficult shots that are still relatively efficient, Brunson generating contested mid-range attempts, and lazy ball stopping that produces equally difficult shots with no upside, a wing dribbling into a contested fadeaway with 4 seconds left. A high ball hog number and low effective field goal percentage plus high net wins is a real category. Johnson, Cunningham. These players are getting penalized in the formula for the shooting volume, but compensating elsewhere. They're not hurting their teams. The net wins number confirms that the ball hog label is less apt for them. The .546 threshold is a single cutoff. A player at .545 is inefficient, one at .547 is not. In practice, this is a continuous spectrum, and the distinction around the threshold is smaller than the distinction between .49, generally inefficient, and .54, borderline. What the metric captures cleanly are the players consuming the most possessions at a below average conversion rate without compensating through assists. That combination possession consumption without creation or conversion is the clearest drag an individual player can impose on an offense. The leaderboard above name them. Thank you for your time.